Hey everyone, and welcome back. I just wanted to do a shorter follow-up video following the video that I made earlier today that went a couple hours. We had an arrest made last night, and this man has been ID'd today, and I wanted to talk more about this. And my fascination at the media's refusal to call this some sort of attack. They keep referring to it as a car crash, which seems like quite the stretch. You know, this is not normal human behavior for someone to run over children in a parade. So there's definitely something more to this. And on this channel, we talk about some topics that are a little bit foreign to the mainstream. Topics that some view as a conspiracy, but when you read between the lines of these stories and start digging a little deeper, you find that something much stranger is happening. Now, one of the details about this attack yesterday is that among the injured was a Roman Catholic priest, as well as many school children from the Waukesha Catholic Archdiocese. So, and the video showed a lot of children getting hurt. I believe that was the first group of people that was struck by this SUV. So this prompted Jerome Listecki, who is the Archbishop of the Milwaukee Catholic Diocese, which I believe has jurisdiction over much of the area, including Waukesha County. So he issued a response reacting to the tragedy, of course, denouncing it, whatnot. And I noticed that there is some interesting alignments with Jerome Listecki to this event. And in my last video, I explained the significance of this occurring at 4:40, but the time has been updated to a more accurate 4:39. And yesterday's event was 4,390 days after the appointment of Jerome Listecki. And his middle name is Edward, which also stuck out in light of the fact that the suspect who was arrested, his middle name is Edward as well, Daryl Edward Brooks. Now in Gematria, Jerome Listecki sums to 1122 in our standard trigonal cipher, which is the alphabetic order, with associated triangular numbers. And this is a number that was a big feature focus of my last video, where I mentioned how JFK assassination sums to 1122, so does JFK conspiracy. And the assassination was on November 22nd, 1122. That also happens to be the value of vehicle ramming attack. And now on 1122, in the headlines, we get Jerome Listecki reacting to this tragedy from the night before. Now again, this happened in the state of Wisconsin. And just 2 days prior, we had the acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse in the news. And in Jewish Gematria, the name Kyle Rittenhouse also sums to 1122. In fact, I made an entire post about how the numerology of that story is connected to JFK, even before all this. Again, notice the full name of the suspect, Daryl Edward Brooks Jr. This has matching Gematria in both ordinal and reverse, with John F. Kennedy's full name, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. 233, 334. The name Daryl Brooks also summing to the Jesuit order. And we'll look a little bit closer at the numerology of Jerome Listecki and how it clues us into the fact that he's a Jesuit as well. But before I do, I want to explain how this is connected to the Las Vegas shooting. Now here in America, the media is masters of deception. And they work to deceive both the regular people who believe all the news and the people who see what's going on and see that they're lying too. So as I've long been saying on this channel, I contend that there are hoaxes, but there are also real events, false flags, attributed to a patsy, so to speak. And the JFK assassination, famously, most people believe Lee Harvey Oswald was a patsy in that story. Last year, I did some extensive work explaining how the 2017 Las Vegas shooting was a significant tribute to the JFK assassination. Of course, in the assassination, you had a guy raining gunfire down from a building, which was identical to what happened in Las Vegas at that concert. In the language of Gematria, Vegas sums to 54. So does JFK using the reverse alphabetic order. The Route 91 Harvest Festival, which was in Las Vegas, began 54 days before the 54th anniversary of JFK's assassination. To make that connection even stronger is that it was exactly 19,673 days. That equates to exactly 666 lunar phases and 6 days, which is 4 sixes. Quite the alignment. Well, now we have this character, Daryl Brooks, and check out his birthday, February 21st of 1982, which means he was born 6,666 days after the Kennedy assassination. When you multiply 6 times 6 times 6, you get this product of 216. And yesterday's vehicle attack in Waukesha was exactly 216 weeks after the Vegas shooting. Again, 2 incidents which were very real. Of course, the vehicle attack, very real. There's still some discussion I see among people about the Vegas shooting. I think people definitely were shot and killed that night at that event. The number 216 is also a moon number, as the moon has an equatorial diameter of 2,160 miles. When that Las Vegas shooting occurred, the Jesuit order had just turned 477 years old. From September of 1540 to the Vegas shooting, just after they turned 477 years old. And using prime number gematria, another cipher based on the alphabetic order, the phrase ritual sacrifice sums to 477. Of course, ritual sacrifice has this 616 Latin or Jewish gematria as well, and this is the value of JFK in that same method. But with Daryl Brooks being born on the 21st, the suspect in this case, this means that on the date of the parade attack, he was exactly 477 months old. Now, this number was attributed to death just recently as well. Saturday Night Live just began season 47. And at the end of season 47, episode 7, they announced the death of Peter Aykroyd, a former member of Saturday Night Live. I have a post on my blog on the numerology of his death on the date of the partial lunar eclipse, the longest one in over 580 years. So again, just another example of how the number 477 is connected to death in the media. And on this date, Lorne Michaels, check out how old he was. On the date of the Saturday Night Live announcement, he was just turning 77 years and 4 days old. The inverse of 477. A closer look at the numerology of Jerome Edward Listecki, this guy who wears this funny, goofy-looking hat. In the language of Gematria, notice how his name sums to 2010. And although he was appointed a couple of months prior, he was installed as the Archbishop of Milwaukee in the year 2010, just 4 days in. Just like his name. How nice of them. Now, as we mentioned, 201, a number of the Jesuit order. Daryl Brooks equals 201. 666, 201. We talked about how that's heavily coded in here. And remember, this was even 666 days with the end date after the death of Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant scored the second most points in NBA history in one game in his 666th career game. His career was heavily coded with 666, and now he's buried in Corona del Mar as part of that riddle with coronavirus. The founder of the Jesuit order, Ignatius of Loyola, is 201. So is the first pope from the Jesuit order, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, otherwise known as Francis, 201. Now, the Jesuit order was founded in the year 1540. Like the number 154, the phrase ritual sacrifice is 154. So is the name Jerome Listecki, 154. This name also equals 224, which is the Society of Jesus. 224 ordinal. And on top of that, Jerome Listecki equals 1016 in Jewish Gematria. The Jesuit motto in Latin sums to 1016 in the Latin or Jewish cipher. And you got to appreciate why they call them archbishops. Archbishop 311, part of the beast code. The beast equals 311. This, by the way, is a prime number, the 64th prime number. And the name Jerome Listecki has that 64 as well. And in lieu of this all occurring as a perceived response to the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict, consider how the number 666 was coded into this in many ways. This was right after the nation of Austria instituted mandatory vaccination. Check out how mandatory is 666, so is vaccination 666. The name Rittenhouse, it's said to have been first found in Austria. Acquitted on the same day as this story from Austria. Of course, Hitler was from Austria. It was 30 weeks and 3 days after the birthday of Adolf Hitler, which equals 303. Adolf Hitler, the ultimate white supremacist, or racial supremacist anyway. And this story about Rittenhouse being spun to be about white supremacy, which is the biggest joke on the public possible. I mean, he shot at 3 white people. So you see what the media is doing. They're just making people so dumb. And you got to think there's some danger to this, right? How much longer are we, the citizens, going to allow this media to report its lies to the people as facts? Especially if they're truly dangerous enough to cause people to do things. And I don't know, is that the case? Is that what happened here? You know, this guy is said to have had a criminal record, including trying to run someone over with a car. So was he chosen for this? I mean, there's always more than meets the eye. And I noticed that they've identified the people who are reported dead from the incident, and I'm blown away that there's nobody younger than 50 in this list. I mean, the video showed he ran over a bunch of children. If no children wind up dying in this, that's a miracle right there. My goodness. Condolences to the families of everybody lost, though. This was an awful, awful event. And again, it's very real because not everything that we see on television is fake. Some of this stuff is real. And no better example than what happened yesterday, unfortunately. And it sucks that that's what it takes for some people to see it. But another big part of the riddle, guys, is the death of young Dolph, which I touched on in my other video as well. His death was heavily connected to the lunar eclipse. See my video on the channel for that. His real name was Adolf, which, again, really stood out in light of the fact that we got this Adolf Hitler riddle with Kyle Rittenhouse a couple days later. This brought a lot of people to mention Dolph Lundgren, who starred in Rocky IV. And what's so amazing about this is that Dolph Lundgren had a coach in that film named Tony Duke Evers. Actually, this was the coach of Apollo Creed, who Dolph Lundgren's character killed in the movie. And the name Tony Evers, or Evers, is now being used as the name for the governor of Wisconsin, Tony Evers, where this tragedy took place. Now, if you measure from his first day in office to the date of this incident, you get 1,050 days. And think about how the name Dolph Lundgren, who killed off the guy that Tony Evers coached, his name is 150. And then we have the guy who was arrested, Darrell Brooks, 150. when you write out 1050, look at this. You get 105 and 666. Again, this was all 666 days after Kobe Bryant died. And the shooting that sparked the Rittenhouse trial was on August 23rd. That was the Jacob Blake shooting. So the shooting of Jacob Blake was on August 23rd, and then we had protests in Kenosha, which ended up in the shootings with Rittenhouse. Well, August 23rd is the birthday of Kobe Bryant. August 23rd. Now that date can be written 23/8, and this brings us back to 666, 2038, in Gematria. For more Kennedy connections, when you look at Kennedy's age on the date he was assassinated, 16,979. This is a prime number, the 1957th prime number. And just to highlight what I mentioned again in my last video, the Postmaster General of the United States Post Office was born in the year 1957. And in Gematria, United States Postal Service equals 1957. Well, 85 days before the 58th anniversary of JFK's death, they moved the price of stamps up to 58 cents. And this was a potential clue, because if you go backwards, 1,957 days from yesterday's truck attack, you get to July 14th, 2016, which is the date of the Nice truck attack, where a man drove a van down a promenade, killing dozens of people, allegedly. Very interesting stuff. And then you have Dolph Lundgren, who was born in 1957. Again, connected to Rocky IV, where you have Tony Evers, who began his acting career in 1957. Tony Burton, the guy who played him. All right, that'll do it for this video. Don't want to go too long here. Just wanted to get that out. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya.